Well, hey, it's Wes. It's time to talk about something big from Smallrig. We're used to Smallrig going small, as is implied in the name. But this time, we've got something big. Now, I know what you're saying. Isn't it always snowy in Canada? Well, I'll have you know, summer does come. Don't make a lot of videos in the summer though, because I'm usually busy with weddings, and I am. But we've got to get a look at this. Here we have a fully carbon fiber, full-on video tripod. I know I have a lot of photographers in my group here who are used to photography tripods, which cost less and are significantly smaller and lighter. What do you want this for? Well, number one, the tripod head that comes on this one does have a decent fluid head, but it's not perfect, it's not always smooth, and get something like this, you're smooth in every direction. Number two, weight bearing. This thing is going to take some weight. Let's open it up. And here you can see the next feature of this tripod. It gets very tall and there is only one locking mechanism.
Now, one quirk that I noticed about this tripod is that when you open the locking mechanism all the way, the bottom level doesn't slide out. You have to open it just right in the middle where it's the loosest, and then everything slides just fine. But if you open it fully as far as the locking mechanism will go, it will only loosen the top segment, but not the bottom segment. I can't decide whether I think that this is a purposeful feature to allow you to select what part of the leg you're releasing, or just an incident of how it is made. Let me know what you think.
Once you get it to your desired height, you lock it down, one hand, one movement, just like that. Boom. I'm going to set it to this medium height here, but as you can see, the maximum height for this is incredibly high. That's crazy. So the next thing we have here is the ability to stabilize it to an exact level before you start filming. There's a bubble level in the back here, and then we tighten it down once we get it exact. Boom, just like that. We have an extending arm. It lets you change the length or just pack it up when you need to. We slide our camera on from this direction and lock it down. Now, as you can see, my camera looks pretty tiny right now. It's because when you're shooting video, it's almost never just a camera. This brings me to one of my two biggest gripes with this. We have two mounting points on this side here, but don't be confused. This one is only for the arm. You can put the arm on this side or this side. It doesn't have the standard thread, the 1/4-20 thread that you expect. So you can only mount accessories on this one point. Oh boy, do I wish that there was a matching point on the other side and that this uses the same 1/4-20 thread so that you can add more stuff to it, because you have all this weight bearing. I'd like to attach it to the tripod. Now, if you're familiar with video work, a lot of the time you'll attach a rail system under the camera to attach all your accessories to, because then you're just on and off. But for me, I'd rather have a lot of this stuff locked down to the tripod, or at least have the option to, so that I can change the cameras out easily, because I often swap between cameras. I'm going to screw into the one accessory side here. This thing comes in about $400 US, which to a photographer, that might seem like a lot. But if you look at carbon fiber video tripods, you will see that that is not a lot of money these days.
If we have a look at the best sellers on B&H, you can see how this tripod has really shaken up the video tripod market. It shot right to #1 of the best sellers list, and just everything else that used to be a bestseller is so much more expensive than this. Many of them more than 10 times the price. Crazy. Now, to be certain, some of those will have a more robust build quality than this. This uses a little bit of plastic where you might not want it to, but for the price, it just doesn't come close.
One quick note, not related to this tripod. If you power your camera, we'll talk specifically about Sony cameras, through the USB-C port, you're going to be contributing to heat buildup inside the camera. We're in direct sunlight right now. This is not going to last long if we're charging through here. It's better to use a dummy battery that's plugged into your V-mount battery, because then there's no additional heat buildup. You'll get a lot more recording time on it. And there we go. There's a lot of stuff on this tripod. You don't need to worry about number one, anything being not perfectly smooth, or number two, exceeding some weight rating for some tiny little tripod head on this, because this isn't even close to how much this thing can carry.
This is especially useful if you're going to be shooting with a longer lens and doing video and you need a nice smooth pan. The little hiccups in panning on cheaper or not as smooth tripods aren't as easy to see with wider focal lengths, but if you're going to be shooting a long way, like down the river at somebody's surfing, and I'm cropped into a 300mm focal length, you gotta have something that can do it real smooth, and this one, at any focal length, you're not going to see any hiccups in those pans. Now, I can't show you the surfer because that's a part of a documentary that I was shooting for someone else, but here's some nice random nature scenes. There is a little bit of bumpiness in some of the footage because it was incredibly windy that day and the wind was buffeting my matte box. There's always one more variable, isn't there?
Now, my second gripe is that when we go to close these legs here, if you close it the whole way, you will see that in the middle here, the knobs that allow you to control for how far out the legs spread will get in the way of the legs sliding back up. So you have to slide the legs and then close it. It's a little thing, but it's a big usability thing for me, because normally slap it together and then slide the whole thing down in one fluid motion. This time you have to slide it, then slap it. Slide, then slap. Don't forget that. It's time for the don't try this at home section of this video. I think I need a ladder to get on top of this.
Hold up, before we break the tripod and break me, we're going to do some slightly more scientific testing here using a force meter and a meter stick to see how much twisting force the tripod resists, how strong the entire system is itself, and also how much bending force the legs can resist. And we're going to test the twisting force both from the tripod head and also from the leg base itself. And the legs are extended to not their entire length, but a more comparable length of a 57-inch total height, which is about face height for me if I put a camera on top of it, because 77 inches is kind of crazy and it's hard to compare to any other tripod in that case. But to keep things comparable, I did compare with the same methodology to a bunch of other tripods that I have on hand here. I'll be adding other tripods to this in the future, and I'll be putting this in a link in the description soon. And also, I added a ratio of the twist force required and the bend force required per leg length so that it can be a little bit more universal. And as you can see here, if we compare it to photo tripods and photo travel tripods, obviously we have significantly less resistance in those legs, but if we compare it to something bigger like the K&F aluminum tripod, which is a very heavy tripod, it does get a little bit closer. A bunch more tripods to add to this list, and I will keep adding to it. And now, let's get stupid.
Oh, one more try. Oh. It won't hold up 155 pounds, but the legs won't break. So that's good. Close it up. So again, bring it most of the way closed, bring it down all the way, lock the legs, then the rest of the way closed, and we are good to go. One last thing, you have feet that bounce from being perfectly flat to having a spike on the end if you want to spike that ground. And they just bungee right on there. So if you want to pick up one of these, the new low-cost, comparatively lightweight tripod from Smallrig, there's a link down in the description below. If you have any questions about this, let me know. I'll get back to you. Until next time, go take some photos and some videos.